will show up and dunk and whatever, and then Kareem's going to block everything and rebound everything. So I know they're going to make that impact on the floor, which is why I didn't know if we wanted to go modern in the next one, just because I know that some of their legends they're a bit of a cheat code.
True. Well, I do want to see if they carry over what they were doing in this year.
But I guess if it's a Legends fantasy draft, every team will have legends, so I suppose everyone's got the cheat codes at that point.
True.
So it should balance itself.
I was curious if this works, the share screen along with the live stream. Appears to maybe work. Do you have a delay? Can you not even see?
So you've got Jargo walking on now in the cinematic?
Yeah.
At the other forward position.
Yeah, so on the game it's like completely live.
Oh, sweet. Alright, well, code word, and we got a live stream going on against the Mavs here. We got a special guest, Cross, from the titled Cross and Cutty 2K League, and special guest Cross is gonna be the broadcast announcer, unbeknownst to him, for this game.
Out of nowhere. Okay, so the Lakers are coming off a win that was against Boston, which first time they've overcome Boston, so it looks really good for them moving forward, and they got that really good win over Charlotte in second overtime. Giannis carrying the weight on that one. Kobe's been quite interesting as well. He pulled a crazy three in the Charlotte game, and in the last game he was attempting some dunks, probably didn't get all what he wanted, but okay, LeBron blocking Tim Hardaway Jr. there.
So what do you make of the league so far on the East? I'd say specifically, how's the East looking?
As far as the East goes, I'd say the big story for the East as far as rivalries go, I would say, as much as we would like that story to be Celtics Lakers, I think it's actually LaMelo Lakers, because obviously the Lakers parted way with LaMelo in favour of Ja, and I think LaMelo might just want to get that revenge, so the Celtics might come up against him pretty heavily in the finals, so that the Sixers could match up with the Lakers in the finals. I'd say the Nets. The Nets is an interesting story because they had Damian Lillard, Drew Holiday, KD. They were pretty stacked, and then as soon as Dame got traded away, it started to click, because when there was just the three of them on the floor, nothing worked. They couldn't get it to go. They had one of the worst losing streaks in the league.
Well, I heard that it was rumored that they offered Kevin Garnett a beefy contract, but he just kept turning it down, and so there's this little bit of a rivalry, more of a cold rivalry that many viewers are not aware of.
What, the Nets?
The Lakers and the Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a rivalry between the two big teams with the Warriors, because whilst the Lakers went for that contract with Garnett as well, so did the Celtics, and so there's kind of a lot of rival around that contract and him going to the Warriors. I guess it emulates reality with KD somewhat, with what went on there. To mention another couple of teams that have completely changed, the Houston Rockets were worse than the league in last season, I believe, and then coming into this season they've been the best in the West, and that team has completely turned from being very, very young to now having a big three of Zion, Kawhi and also Jaylen Brown. So I would say the Lakers definitely need to look out for them.
Not that you have any stake in the team, but what do you make of the Celtics this year, and what is different and what's the same?
The Celtics have been in a funny state this year. There's been a lot more trades than what they would have wanted, and I think ownership isn't particularly happy with the way that the general manager's handling the trades. I think he originally wanted to see what Zion could do as part of that future, and I think as soon as Zion left, the GM was trying to find pieces that would really take that place. We've been told quite clearly by the GM there's going to be big trades in the off-season. We're not clear as of now what that will be. We know that Paul George has his contract come up in the off-season. Actually, one thing that the GM did do particularly well with the trades was actually cutting down on the amount of free agents he would have had. I think there was about half the roster that were only on one-year contracts for season 2. So he would have had the whole of pretty much all of his roster to rebuild for season 3 if he hadn't have cut down on some of those. But as far as contendership and going forward, they've took a few losses that they didn't want to take this year. They wanted to go with a clean sheet. It didn't quite happen for them. So yeah, I think there's a lot of unsurety, if we're making up words, about what's going to happen with the Celtics come the playoffs.
Would you say that there is a potential Cinderella team out there that might surprise people?
If we're looking at underdog teams, I think we've got to look at the Cleveland Cavaliers in the East, because you've got Larry Bird that has gone to ownership of the Cavaliers, and instead of just having a team full of youth, he's picked up Chris Paul and a couple of other players that are really going to help him one, develop the youth, but also be a little bit more of a contender, a bit more of an underdog team come the playoffs. And I think in the West it continues to be the Timberwolves. They've had a bit of a roster change recently, with Anthony Towns going to the Lakers and Damian Lillard showing up in the Timberwolves jersey. So it'll be interesting to see what that dynamic change will do to the Timberwolves. But I would say those two are the main ones. Denver's never had any changes in season 1 or season 2, and they always seem to balance out quite well as well. So maybe we could see Denver make some moves. Looking back over on the East, maybe Milwaukee, but Milwaukee is looking a little bit like a Boston retirement home right now. There's a lot of Boston tradees that have showed up there. I think there's about 7 or 8 players on that roster that have come directly from Boston. So.
And what do you make of the Kings?
I don't think they've changed anyone on the roster, to be honest. And I've never really been... I can't say I've not ever wanted to see more for the Kings franchise, but they always seem to do themselves dirty in that they seem to look like they're going to get somewhere, and then all of a sudden it all kind of comes crashing down around them. They also have problems developing players. Apart from De'Aaron Fox, I personally can't say a rookie that's came out of there in the last 2 decades that's had a strong career. There's some that have had a really good run, but they've all kind of fizzled out, i.e. Isaiah Thomas and DeMarcus Cousins.
Your predictions for Lillard the remaining season?
Damian Lillard in the Timberwolves, he has he has a lot to deal with there because the Timberwolves is what I would call the team of attitude. They've got an attitude about them. They want to be in the conversation. They want to make a difference, and they want to go far in the playoffs. But is Damian Lillard the leader that can carry them? I'm not quite sure. I think the combination with him and AI could be interesting, but the one thing that's always hurt the Timberwolves is they've got a lot of different personalities to balance out, so morale issues. So if you think of just three names in particular, Dame Lillard now, Allen Iverson, Shaquille O'Neal, there's big names there, and I think the ball's going to have to be shared around, and I don't think any of them are particularly going to want to give up their opportunities.
Yeah, there's definitely only amount of time that each person can spend. So most likely that team is no one's gonna win any awards there as far as like scoring champ of the season or defensive player.
I personally wouldn't bank on it, just because I think the morale is going to be a problem. So if you look at the standings, they currently sit 13th, 8-12 so far, so 8 wins and 12 losses, and they've not got a terrible roster. Obviously Dame Lillard, Allen Iverson, probably the other ones to mention, Bobby Portis, Ben Simmons, Christian Wood, Malik Beasley, Dante DiVincenzo. They've got players, but again, I think the morale is going to stop any of them having a particularly great season.
By the way, we lost Cross, but it's all good. Cross knows how to improvise and can still give us updates on 2K League. What are your predictions in the future? Like, what are the teams to look out for outside of Boston? If we're not factoring in this year as much.
So, what was the question again?
Like,
sorry?
is there like the team that you see not this season but next year? Like, what would you say the team that is developing and may not show all their star power this year, but look out next season? You think it's the Cavs? You think that if it's not this year, maybe next year?
I think it's possible. I think the Cavaliers definitely an option. You could probably also say...
Shit. Guess a special guest again, like last time. We'll let some other people handle that.
You could potentially also say the Utah Jazz or Portland. They've not done particularly well this year, but if you look at the roster of the Utah Jazz, you've got Penny Hardaway leading the way with Malcolm Brogdon and Brandon Ingram. So I think if they could pick up some pieces in free agency, they'd be in a nice position. Portland have got rookie Burt Patrick from the last draft, who leads the way, but he's got Bradley Beal and Chris Middleton to back him up. You've also got the developing Anthony Simons and Dwight Howard there. But as far as the East, it's kind of difficult because as far as the East goes, Cleveland does seem like it could be that team. Philadelphia is one that could probably come into question depending on how they do this year, because Philly could be in the top name conversation already. They just might not be quite showing up as much as they should be. The other one to probably look out for in the East is Washington. So they got a rookie called Cody Blackman in the last draft, and he seems to be doing well there alongside Miles McBride and Jimmy Butler. I'm not quite sure about anywhere else. Last season, Indiana did fairly well, but this time around they were only ninth. I think they're struggling a bit to get going. Charlotte's not doing particularly well. The Bucks might figure it out if they're no longer the retirement home of Boston. I'd say also look out for Phoenix because they'll get Booker back next year. He's been out all season with an injury, so Booker will have CJ McCollum, the twins in Michael Bridges and Cameron Johnson.
I do think the Pelicans, though, they got some picks for next season too, so it might be a lot of movements in New Orleans.
We're on the mock draft. It looks like they will have the 10th pick, the 22nd pick. Yeah, the 10th and the 22nd pick. The Knicks are looking like they're favourites to get number 1 and Victor Wembanyama. The Timberwolves are looking like they will go 3rd and pick up maybe Scoot Henderson or Brandon Miller, someone like that. The Timberwolves have actually got the 3rd and 8th pick, so it looks like they might go and do quite a bit in the draft as well. But there's a lot to look out for in free agency as well, because there's some names.
Yeah, I think the Lakers are pretty content with what they have right now, but you never know. Could be a rookie who makes their way into Hollywood.
Well, I'd definitely look at those Laker contracts because I don't know what they're all looking like right now. So if we look over them, Anthony Edwards could be a potential. Caruso, Cody Zeller, those 3 in particular look like they could be going into free agency. Which I don't think any of them are like massive pieces within that Lakers roster. They could bring Caruso back because he's got a team option, but Anthony Edwards and Cody Zeller I think you would have to pay out for again to get them back. Either that or the bonus is there's going to be 2 open slots on that roster come free agency.
Which could be the trade of the year next season if it's pulled off correctly.
Well, in the free agency, you've got James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Chris Paul, Jaylen Brown, DeJounte Murray. There's some big names out there that could be particularly nice for the Lakers. Maybe someone like Pascal Siakam to take the role of Cody Zeller. Maybe they insult LaMelo even more and bring in Lonzo Ball, who is also a free agent.
I think the Lakers tried to do that year 1, have the Ball brothers in, and it was a disaster. But we'll see if it works out on another team.
I don't know if Leangelo's available, but if he was available and you could get Lonzo Ball and LaMelo in the Lakers, it'd be quite interesting to see how that dynamic would work. But I think Ja ultimately was the one that was picked over LaMelo in the end.
Lakers bringing out the bench here, just running through the motions at this time. We're sitting at 21-11, 45 seconds left, and Ayton just carrying the ball up. Not doing much here.
Drew Holiday is on the board for next year as well on free agency, so he could work for the Lakers, or maybe the Lakers try to put the upset over Boston because Paul George is available. You wouldn't put it wouldn't surprise me if the Lakers tried to make that move, because it would definitely chop down what the Boston plan could potentially be for next season. We know they're looking at trades anyway, so maybe they'll try to move Paul before the end of the season, or maybe someone else is their big trade plan, but it's hard to see who right now. Draymond Green will be back available. He's with the Cavaliers as well right now.
We'll see if they want an arm and a leg for Green. Alright, so the final score 23-11. We're gonna have to wrap this up here like before, and Cross knows why. So this is the Prospects, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Cross with Cutty in the 2K League.
Giannis, some